I didn't want to watch Ready Player One. I've seen the trailer a million times and it's a pretentious piece of shit. This guy complaining about, oh no, my generation is so missing. We've gone to this crazy world, but oh, it's not great at all, even though it clearly is. And then Mumkey asked me, I don't want to review this movie either. How about you go and watch it for me? Yeah, that would have been great. But damn it, Mumkey, you betrayed me. You saw it anyways, and then you didn't even invite me on to do the discussion. Ah, great. And then then I wanted to do one with Mr. Meatman instead, and he also doesn't want to do it now. So now I'm forced to talk about Ready Player One all by myself, unless I'd ask E-Rich, but he's already talked about it with Mumkey, so fuck him as well. So here we go, it's the Ready Player One. It's actually so much better than you'd think from the fucking trailer. And people don't like it, I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me. It's pretty good. All I ever wanted was to have a big battle of CGI monsters, and this delivers properly. And I don't know why. What is it with you people in Infinity War? Why is that better? And in this case, it's oh no, too many CGI things. What are you fucking talking about? This is just as logically consistent and as interesting as Infinity War, and this one everyone hates. God, I hate consensus. Why is everyone so... How does this happen? I'm sure it's the anchoring effect somehow. I bet these movies are exactly the same quality, and I'm the only one who figured it out. All you people just preferring Infinity Wars because it's the biggest Marvel fap. But this one's better because you don't have all this pointless backstory to a million characters that you didn't need. Instead, you just have some regular old kids that play video games. That's what I'm all about. Yeah, I can look at these cool worlds where people have avatars and everything, and oh yeah, look at that. And I'm here to talk. Well, I mean, this was almost irrelevant. I mean, the window of relevancy for this movie was almost over. If it hadn't been for Mumkey's biggest fan, your movie sucks. And he's made a whole video nitpicking this movie. A whole nitpick theater, I guess. TM. And so here I am. We'll talk about all these stupid nitpicks that all you mainstream faggots have. And no bridge will remain unburnt or something, I don't know. It's not like anyone's even gonna watch this. Half the people who I'm talking about here.
Ready Player One was kind of fucking dumb. I mean, I had fun overall, I guess, and I was never bored despite the runtime, but it's dumb. It is so incredibly dumb. Everything about the film's plot just falls apart the second you start thinking about it. So I'm gonna spoil the whole movie and talk about how nothing makes any sense. Here we go. Large woman groping herself on a stripper pole. You're not gonna close the curtains? So then we see inside the virtual world, and we're told that there are limitless possibilities as to what a person can be. They try to explain that some people have omnidirectional platforms underneath their feet, but that doesn't explain how people are jumping on shit. Not once did any of the characters have to readjust their position in the virtual world because it was conflicting with the real world. There are shots in the movie that show crowds of people running around in the real world outside with their virtual reality goggles. You'd think at least one character in the movie would be like, hold on, I can't go any further because there's a real building in my way. I'm going to have to readjust and face the other way while compensating for my direction.
Ah, geez, really hitting it home with all those nitpicks, aren't you? Well, there's multiple ways that this could be working, and there's 1,000 ways that it would make sense, but I guess you just couldn't possibly imagine them, could you? So for one thing, you probably have a steering wheel, so you can go straight forward in the real world, but you can turn in the virtual world, so that you actually maintain your running speed, but you don't have to run into a building because you can steer. And there's other stuff too. Specifically in the movie they show that there's a modification that you can turn on that hides your emotion. So obviously you can hide pretty much anything then, couldn't you? And I'm sure there's a fucking jump button, oh my god. I mean, just because it looks that these people are really immersed in the game doesn't mean that it's perfectly seamless and every single thing that they see is exactly how they experience it. I mean, it's just a game, it's immersion. They all pretend to be immersed, but obviously things that will take you out of it will happen eventually. It probably would have been pretty funny if someone would have been like, yo, I gotta adjust my real world for a second. But I guess they didn't do that because they wanted to show that everyone was really immersed in it. And, well, I suppose it could have been... Nah, it would have been a stupid joke, actually. It's probably good they didn't do it. So I guess most of the stuff is more symbolic than real, or maybe we just don't see it. Maybe they just cut out the parts where people were fumbling their gear and stuff, and it was really inconvenient, and they only showed the parts where it's cool. Like how you don't see soldiers fumbling their guns really stupidly, and they just have them perfectly in their grasp the entire time when you have action movies. Like that, you know? Like movies.
But how was he playing the game just sitting at his desk? Was he using a mouse and keyboard? If that's what they were implying, then you'd think there would be a lot more people doing that. But why would anybody use a mouse and keyboard when you can just walk on a treadmill inside your trailer? Is that what he was doing or not? There's a gigantic corporation that's also trying to find this Easter egg, and they've employed like 300,000 people to find it. Why don't they use a mouse and keyboard? You'd think that that would be more cost effective and also improve their chances at finding the Easter egg. But they have this entire warehouse of virtual reality treadmills and boxes that people are using.
God, how stupid can you get? Obviously you have more fucking motion controls over your hands if you have gloves, and if you see through a VR headset, it's you know more than when you see through a screen, because you can turn your head faster. I mean, not right now, because VR right now is shit, but in the future, obviously, well, in this particular vision of the future, it's the most efficient way to do it. But then I suppose for specific things, like when you do like your taxes on the internet or something, then it's or like you enter a gambling house and then you click on things to gamble. It's probably more convenient to have mouse and keyboard, but who knows? It's just like there's so many possibilities. Why are you so fucking worried about it? I mean, I'm pretty sure that having your whole body there would be more convenient than just having a cursor there. Imagine how your life would suck if you'd just be a robot that can only point in one direction and you don't have hands. You just have like a stick tied to your nose so you can click on things like a mouse cursor. Yeah, that would be fun, wouldn't it? Jeez.
The head of this corporation has like a lazy boy recliner that he just sits in. How is he moving around? There's parts where people are hanging onto ledges trying to crawl back up because they're gonna fall. What exactly is happening when the characters are fighting each other in the virtual world? He also decides to use a special suit so he can feel everything that's happening. So like if somebody in the virtual world gropes you, then the suit gropes you, but it also makes you feel pain. Why would he even wear that when he knows he's going into a battle? It seems like it would only just give people a clear advantage over you. So why don't you just rewire the suit to make it tickle you instead, seeing as how you're the head of this gigantic corporation?
I mean, the obvious solution there is that you can enable or disable the pain, but then this guy, maybe he left it on by accident, or maybe he's pretty technologically impaired, and maybe he doesn't want the Omni thing because he wants to be less immersed and more relaxed because he's busy. I don't know. It's just a choice. And you can probably just control it fine. Maybe they even have some kind of fucking ways to read your mind so you can move your character with your mind. Who knows? Why you gotta fucking nitpick it so hard? Oh my god.
A corporation that has built warehouses full of virtual reality prison cells that you're keeping people in, which for some reason have latches on the inside that you can use to escape. Like, oh, all you had to do was just reach up. I also like how this corporation is just legally allowed to imprison you for some reason. Basically, if you owe them too much money, they kidnap you and make you move shit around for them in the Oasis.
First of all, you know, that's not even so different from America today, where you have your privatized prison system. And secondly, latches on the inside, that's not so bad. I mean, if you've seen the movie, you would have known that he actually had to hack the fucking cell to get her out of it. So, you know, maybe they have a mode where it's unlocked, where maybe if you've been a good guy, you can I mean, if you've been a good prisoner, that is, you can enter and leave when you want, as long as you put in your time. And I guess they can track you down if you flee, anyways. And the whole part is on the whole facility is on a lockdown. So maybe you get privileges of walking around. God, how is that a fucking conundrum to you? Jesus Christ.
Because apparently they can make back the losses by having you perform manual labor in the virtual world? How does that make any sense? Yeah, move these heavy objects from here to there and just make sure they're all in a straight line, and you'll work off your debt at some point, don't worry.
Oh no, manual labor in the virtual world. Now what a concept, I couldn't possibly wrap my head around this. Oh my god, could you possibly imagine people having a mundane job on a computer? How would this even be possible? Jesus Christ. And you know, have you ever played a game, just like any online game ever? They have lots of grinding in them, especially if they're free to play. And it seems that this one's free to play, so I'm sure it has lots of grinding in it. And moving boxes around, yeah, that's it. That's what grinding looks like, okay? It's just parts where the game has cool features, but you can't access the cool features unless you fucking grind. And God, how is this something that puzzles you? Did you know that you can play role-playing games, level your character to level 100 and then sell your account? That's basically doing manual labor in the physical world. Do you understand? Oh my god! Have you just not understood anything about money or the internet ever? Ugh. You know, I'm probably coming off as a dick here, am I not? Well, tough. This guy doesn't get it.
Making money off of that. This is the same virtual world where we saw entire vehicles basically just spawn out of nowhere. The main character can fit his entire vehicle inside his pocket and he just throws it onto the ground and it expands into something he can drive. But you can't do the same with these road mines you're trying to lay? Why the hell would you need physical labor in the virtual world?
Yeah, that one really puzzles you, huh? So basically the cars, it's obvious that the cars have this inherent feature of being able to become big and small how you need them. Just like clothes, they apparently go onto your body and then they're not in your inventory anymore. So those are items that go in your inventory, and then there's other items that don't go in your inventory. I mean, obviously you can't just pick up anything and shrink it down into your inventory in this game. Could you imagine? I mean, you wouldn't even have, like, ownership of it. Maybe these mines don't actually belong to this corporation. They've stolen them from somewhere else, and that's why they can't fold them up. Or maybe there were cheaper mines there, but the downside was that they couldn't be folded up, so they used their workforce to carry them over. There's a lot of possibilities of how this would work. You don't even have to think about it too hard, but if you do think about it, you'll find out that it makes a lot of sense.
What the hell is going on? Now, I didn't exactly go into this movie expecting everything to make sense. At the very least, I was just hoping for a bunch of pop culture references, and yet somehow even that felt underwhelming. Apparently, all pop culture related to film and music ended in 1989, except maybe the Iron Giant, I guess. The only current pop culture references were all just video games. We saw Tracer, we saw some Master Chiefs. Apparently, Battletoads had a huge resurgence in the year 2044. I don't know, you'd think that half of the characters would just be running around as anime girls in maid outfits, and the other half would be Ugandan Knuckles. Here in the Oasis, there's no limit to what you can be. Why was there only one furry? Maybe they were quarantined. Why didn't anyone want to be a T-Rex or a King Kong? Seemed like almost everybody going into the battle at the end was just a normal-sized human being type character. You'd think that more people would show up to that as a kaiju or something. Are there limitations to what you can be and you were just lying at the beginning of the movie?
You can do anything. Be anyone.
Or has the movie just seriously underestimated how wild and crazy people's imaginations can be?
Oh my god, obviously there's limitations, Jesus fuck. Just because you can be anything you want doesn't mean that everyone's gonna be everything they want. It just means that there's a potential for you to achieve these features, but it doesn't mean that everyone can have them. We see how this guy builds the Iron Giant, and we see how it's half done, and obviously he put a lot of work into it. And another time we see that they fought for an item that allows you to turn into a giant robot for like 10 seconds, and yeah, guess what? They use up that item, okay? So obviously there's a limited amount of giant robots that are allowed. So the default will obviously be humanoid. And then more and more modifications will make you more and more amazing, I guess. Like the guy on the left of this picture here, look how he's a skull. How his armor is a skull and you can see through his body. See, this is what they mean. There's no limitations on reality, there's just limitations of not everyone can have it because it's a valued item, and that's why money is a feature of the fucking game, you see? That's why in-game currency is so incredibly valuable, even in the real world, is because you can do it, you can use it to buy shit like this. You see how he has that store earlier, where he gets like that cube that can rewind time and all kinds of crazy shit. That's it, you see? It explains it all to you. I don't know how you just don't get it, okay?
Even if we completely throw away the idea of character limitations, this movie has seriously underestimated the general population. You're telling me that 5 fucking years go by where people are trying to compete in a race and can't figure out how to do it, and not one person has tried completing the race backwards?
Yeah, you're right on that one. That's pretty retarded. I mean, they would have definitely figured out that driving backwards is an option in like the first months. And in fact, the whole possibility that this puzzle has gone unsolved is pretty low. I mean, I guess it... No, it's not possible, actually. If you flip a coin 1,000,000 times, there's gonna be one of each for certain. Random's pretty unreliable, you know, but if you do the random coin toss enough times, then you're gonna end up with 50-50 in the end. If you do it well. So yeah, basically it's impossible that people wouldn't have solved this, and the whole premise of the movie is silly, but that's just how movies work, alright? Sorry. There's always like one thing that the hero is good at that no one else can do, and it's always bullshit. Like that Frodo carrying the one ring. Come on, anyone could have carried that ring, don't be stupid. Hobbits aren't special. Fucking main character in Ready Player One isn't special. They're only special because everyone else is special, especially retarded. And the fact that they didn't have Uganda Knuckles is really a dagger to my heart. I gotta agree with you on that one as well. It's really weird how the pop culture of this Brave New World has just stopped in the 90s. It's pretty crazy to have a utopia where everyone looks back to the 90s, because apparently immediately after the current year, everyone stopped making art altogether and they just recycled ideas. Oh shit, that's actually happening, isn't it? Oh my god, it's all true! No, actually, it's not, because Ready Player One is an amazing masterpiece of a unique movie, and it's not that bleak at all. It's standalone on its own merit. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's weird. They could have made more future pop culture, but I guess they didn't, because they wanted to have pop culture that we can relate to in the present. So that's odd. But then again, people would definitely still be nostalgic for that old shit. I mean, I look back to that old shit and still like it, but there would be new shit as well, and I don't know if that would be better or worse if you just had a bunch of random shit that you wouldn't understand. I mean, that's what this would look like to someone who hasn't experienced pop culture anyway, so I don't know, maybe it would be alright. Well, it's an interesting thing to think about, but I don't think it's too bad.
If we ignore that, the race where people were driving forwards isn't randomly generated. The second time we see the race, every single obstacle that the characters have to avoid is playing the exact same beat by beat. There would be highly detailed walkthroughs after 5 years. Why is everybody that drives on this track reacting to every obstacle as though it's the first time they're on it?
Okay, so this is just headcanon, but maybe they just reset it every month or something? That would be fun. I don't know, maybe. But I guess they would have mentioned it then, so maybe I'm wrong. But if you're gonna be that annoyed by it, then that's probably how it happened, alright?
Makes it past King Kong at the end. This is impossible. But the movie explains later that people form clans. I mean, the entire race could be populated by people just working for this corporation. If 5 of them tried to hit the jump at once, one of them could have made it. There doesn't seem to be any kind of limitations on what kind of a vehicle you can have. Why not just have one that propels it upwards with rockets?
Why didn't Frodo just fly on the eagles? Come on, man, it's a fucking movie.
He meets up in real life with the girl that he met in the virtual world, the one who's really insecure about the way she looks and is like, I'm not pretty in the real world, I'm only pretty in the virtual world. You wouldn't like me if we met. But it's an attractive redhead model with just a birthmark on her eye that she can easily cover with her hair at any point. Hasn't that happened before? Isn't that kind of like a trope at this point? Oh no, I'm just so ugly, but the main character is just such a good guy that he loves me despite me being so ugly. I am totally not pretty at all. I am such an ugly person because of this birthmark on my face.
Holy shit. Man, you know when she told him that she wasn't like she was in her YouTube channel, that's because he was a creepy stalker who said he fell in love with her just because he met her once and he watched all her content. Is that the kind of romance that you'd fall for? I mean, maybe. Probably not, though. That's normally what YouTubers don't like, is when the fans, like, try to seek him out in the real world and say they have fallen in love with them because they've seen their content. And facial birthmarks aren't really a thing that's really hot either. It's in her case, it's kind of cute because it's got a really nice shape, so it's like a warrior tattoo or something. But normally, people with facial birthmarks, they're not that proud of them, alright? I mean, it's something that insecure guys would really appreciate because they're like, oh, she's flawed too, maybe I can get with her. But she's not a perfect 10, alright? Besides, it was not all about that. I mean, there's different types of girls that people like, alright? Jeez.
Leave it to Steven fucking Spielberg to play the movie as safely as possible. Nah, we couldn't possibly have her be not attractive. How could we possibly expect anyone to relate to a character that isn't a model?
Only an absolute idiot would complain that characters are too attractive in a movie. God fucking damn it. People like to look at pretty people, alright? Is this a fucking new concept to you? God damn!
Eventually, he winds up meeting his other friends from the virtual world in real life. I guess it was just a wild coincidence that they all lived in the same city as him.
I guess they get better pigs if they're closer together, jeez. Who knows how big the city is anyways? Maybe cities are like really huge in this future because cities just kept growing and eventually everything was just one big connected city. So maybe like a city is like a whole state. Yeah, that could happen.
The second challenge was actually kind of cool. They basically have to enter the world of the film The Shining. It's a really cool sequence overall, actually. It appears as though they actually used footage from the film and edited the characters into it, and they even gave the entire sequence kind of a film grainy look to it, not one that was forced and overbearing. It was actually really subtle and worked very well. They even scored the sequence with music from the actual film. For the most part, it was pretty cool, until the end of the sequence where the girl is jumping on top of floating zombies from one to the other and is about to fall and keeps having to hoist herself back up. I'm sorry, what exactly is going on in the real world while you're doing this? What kind of fucking setup is allowing you to do that? Oh,
I don't know, I guess it turned into a game of Mirror's Edge. Ever played it? You know, in games you do jumping and stuff, and this is a game, oh my fucking god, it's even called Ready Player One. See, this is why VR sucks, it's because you can't do shit like that, but in this you can, so that's cool. Might be a bit weird, but I guess people got used to it and they're perfectly great with it now. So then they go to a movie called The Shining, which I thought was a terrible movie. I guess I don't have the nostalgia because it was fairly in modern times when I saw it, but it's just a really weirdly boring movie where nothing happens and it just takes too long. And, well, I guess it's for some people, but not for me. So basically they explore this movie, and even though I didn't like it, I guess I kind of enjoyed seeing these scenes in the movie and then how people react to it. Because they also don't understand the nostalgia that went into it back in the day. At least the black guy didn't. And that was fun. And then, yeah, he remembers it's a game, and then there's zombies and you can jump on them. I don't know, it sounded fine. Don't know why you're puzzled by it. Well, I guess you're not majorly pissed off at it, so it's good.
Meanwhile, the evil corporation man shows up to the trailer park and just walks through crowds of people with a gun. They are all fully aware that he's there to kill this little boy, and nobody else in this American trailer park has any kind of weapon themselves. All right.
Yeah, it's the bystander effect. everyone thinks someone's gonna interfere, but no one does because they're just, I don't know. I guess they're just hoping someone else will interfere for them. It could happen, and the fact that they don't have guns, that could happen too, because I don't know. It's like 40 years in the future. A lot of things will have changed. Why would you even need a gun? I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter. Well, I guess it's hard to tell, really. In a world where people can be blown up by drones, do you need guns? Hard to tell. But just the fact that society as a whole has changed might mean that there have been gun laws after all. I mean, there's enough people bitching about gun control right now, so maybe they'll implement all of gun control eventually. Could happen.
Anyway, now our main character is in control of the Oasis, and pretty much the last line of dialogue in the entire movie just turns him into an asshole. He's narrating to the audience about how he's banned that evil corporation from being able to imprison people for slave labor in the virtual world. And then he's like, yeah, we also shut down the Oasis every Tuesday and Thursday, because the lesson I learned is that as great as the virtual world can be, there are some things that are in real life that are important to experience too, and everybody should take a break from the virtual world to experience the happy things in their own lives.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Very preachy as well. It's just like, oh no, apparently we live in this world and everyone's just on the internet the entire time and no one's getting any work done. And it's like, yeah, okay, I guess he's decided now that people will have to get to fixing the real world, apparently, even though there's probably always some retarded people like that think that the real world is broken when it's really perfectly fine. But I guess, I don't know, in his mind it makes sense. It's probably bullshit. Maybe he'll amend the policy eventually after a massive backlash. Or maybe there's a competitor to the Oasis that actually has open 24/7 and they'll immediately get destroyed and they'll turn into the new MySpace. It's funny to think about. Just imagine. But yeah, I guess it depends. If it's really true that people are just not solving the issues of the real world in this utopia, then maybe he made a good choice. Who knows? Probably a stupid choice, but we'll never know. Or will we? I wonder if this gets a sequel.
What if there are people that do experience life in the real world and their only days off of work where they can relax are Tuesdays and Thursdays? What if visiting the Oasis on Tuesdays and Thursdays was the only thing keeping them from fucking offing themselves?
What about people that work on Christmas? Oh right, they get overtime. Eventually everyone will just get overtime if they work on those days. So they probably won't kill themselves, but whatever, I guess.
What if there is nothing in someone's real life that makes them happy at all and you're putting them through misery? I'd love for the movie to just cut to some dude in a wheelchair with no family or friends. It was such an aggravating way to force in some bullshit lesson at the end of the movie. And as the narration is playing, it shows him cuddling his girlfriend. Man, everybody would just be so much better off if they could only appreciate what they have at home. Not everybody has a girlfriend, you dick!
Well, I suppose you never know. Maybe people will go out and get girlfriends now because apparently they have more free time on their hands. I don't know. Maybe this is a thing that's missing from this modern society, is that people go out and socialize, but then again it's also bullshit because obviously they could like meet an actual girl on the Oasis, so yeah, I guess it's somewhat weird. It's funny. It's silly. I don't know.
Anyway, that about sums up most of my issues with this movie. Some parts were kind of cool and fun to watch, but the movie is just so incredibly stupid. And the more I think about it, the more it falls apart. I guess it was kind of what it tried to be, more or less. I'm not sure if it tried to make any sense at all whatsoever. Maybe I just wish that I could have had fun while not also being infuriated. I don't know, I guess I would recommend it, kind of. There are people that love this movie and there are people that hate this movie, and neither of you are wrong for doing so. As for myself, I'm not really sure what to think at this point. I guess I'm giving this one a 5 out of 10, maybe a 4. It's definitely not a 6, 4 or a 5.
Wow, I thought you'd give it a way worse score after all your nitpicks. I guess you still recommend it for some people. I guess you're just too cynical to enjoy it, even though that doesn't make sense because most movies don't make that much sense. I mean, come on. This isn't like ridiculously stupid like you make it sound. And for me as a programmer, I think that this is a pretty good representation of what it would be like to live in a society where people have VR headsets that they wear all day. It's just such an interesting concept to think about, and I think it was executed fairly well. I just don't know why so many people are so annoyed by it. Very odd. Alright, well, tell me what you thought, and tell me if I should stop making response videos forever. I don't know, the last one I did wasn't very popular. Who knows what this one will do? Oh god.